Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The first question is to describe the inflation rate in Malaysia from 2014 to 2016. But first, let me start by explaining what is inflation. Inflation is the rate of increase in the prices over a given period of time. Inflation is typically a broad measure such as the overall increase in prices or the increase in cost of living in a country. Furthermore, inflationary pressures on an economy may be both good and detrimental at the same time. The negative effects of inflation is a decrease in the real value of money and other monetary items. On the other hand, the positive impacts of inflation is guaranteeing that central banks may modify nominal interest rates. By observing the graph, we can see that in 2014, Malaysia had an average inflation rate of 3.17%. In the following year of 2015, Malaysia had an average inflation rate of 2.1%. This shows that Malaysia had a decrease in inflation by 1.07%. And in 2016, Malaysia had an average inflation rate of 2.07%. This also shows a decrease in inflation by 0.03%. And during the years 2014 to 2016, the inflation rate reached its peak in 2014 at 3.17% and reached its lowest in 2016 at 2.07%.
So let's move on to the major cause of inflation. During the period of 2014 to 2016, several factors contributed to inflation in various countries. Here I will tell you some major causes of inflation during that period. The first one, as we can see here, is external factors. Malaysia is a trading nation that relies heavily on imports for various goods and services. During this period, the global economy experienced volatility, especially commodity prices such as oil and food. And the increases in global commodity prices would have a direct impact on Malaysia's inflation rate. The second one is currency depreciation. The Malaysian ringgit MYR has fallen against major currencies during this period. A depreciating currency increases the price of imported goods, which in turn increases the price of imported goods, leading to inflation. The third one is domestic demand. Robust domestic demand, driven by private consumption and investment, can also provoke inflation. During this period, Malaysia experienced steady economic growth and increased consumer spending, and corporate investment contributed to price increases. The last one is government guidelines. The introduction of the Goods and Services Tax (GST) in April 2015 also impacted inflation. GST, which replaced the previous Sales and Services Tax (SST), has led to higher prices for goods and services, especially in the early stages of implementation. It's important to note that the causes of inflation can vary across countries and regions, and these factors might not be applicable universally. Economic conditions and policies differ, leading to different drivers of inflation in different places during the given time period.
Roles of producer in reducing effect of inflation. The first one, cost of management. Producer can practice to minimize their production costs. This can involve optimizing supply chains, negotiating better deals with suppliers, streamlining production process to eliminate waste. By reducing costs, producers can keep the price of their goods or service stable or even lower them, which help mitigate inflationary pressure. Productivity. The second one, productivity improvement. Producers can increase output by spending money on equipment, technology, and personnel training. Lower costs per unit are the result of higher productivity, which enables companies to create more with the same amount of resources or less. Consumer price may decrease as a result, assisting in the fight against inflationary pressure. Collaboration with stakeholders. Producers can collaborate with suppliers, customers, and governments to fight inflationary Producer can aid in stabilizing prices and easing inflationary pressure by exchanging information, coordinating efforts, and coming up with workable solutions. Last but not least, price control. Producer might work to keep their product or service prices stable or moderate. When price of essential goods or service rise rapidly, price control can limit those increases and provide relief to consumers, especially those with lower incomes. This can help address short-term inflationary pressure and alleviates the immediate burden on consumers.
The next one is I'm going to talk about role of consumer reducing the inflation. There are three roles that I'm going to talk. Firstly is a budgeting and smart purchasing decision. That means consumers should create and stick to their budget so they can manage their finances effectively. Secondly is saving and investing. Consumers should do that because it can help offset their inflation. Lastly, which is third rule, is a long-term planning, and that means consumers should planning for their future, such as planning for retirement or investing in education. By setting long-term planning, consumer can protect themselves from the erosion of purchasing power caused by inflation.